Getting started. We have quite a bit I hope you brought your brains today because we have a lot of independent work today. I've been doing a lot of the thinking and we've been doing a lot of group thinking. But as we talked with Mrs. Ware, that when we have a testing season coming up, we have MAP tests coming up, we have, some CMAS. Some of my friends have already taken some, these are things that you obviously, when you're taking them, you're going to be taking them independently, right? Mrs. Harrison isn't going to be putting all the words, all the questions on the board. We're not going to be able to answer them as a group. I'd love it if we could, if I could help you along, but I can't. So it is a great thing to look at your test taking strategies that you already had. And then tomorrow we have we're going to have a new assessment that goes along with our point of view and some other things. So I don't know why it's so squishy. Sorry, friends. There we go. So I wanted to quickly go over what the answers were. So I would love it if you'd be engaged in your thinking and your paper. And my friends at home, you'll have to remember a little bit of what you thought the answers were. And then we're gonna go over that a little bit. And then tomorrow, Ms. Haley, that doesn't look like a good idea. Tomorrow we're going to take a new assessment. There's going to be a new reading, some new questions, and they're going to be similar to some of these questions, but they're also going to have some more information like point of view. So what we did is we read this article about water pollution, and then we had to answer some questions. So the first one on part A said, what is a verb? You had to choose which one was a verb. A word that names a person, place, or thing or idea, a word that describes an action, a word that's used to replace a noun, or a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Which answer should have been correct? Everybody should be open to this page, looking at their answers. Yes, Miss Abby, which one was correct? It was a word that describes an action, right? It was B. All right. So then, using that idea, part B said, what is the function of the verb dump? In this sentence, businesses and cities dump chemicals and waste products into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. So because it is we know that it's a verb, it's something that's happening, right? It's an action. So it's an action by our business, it's telling what our businesses and cities are doing with chemicals. It's telling what it's doing. It's putting them into the rivers, lakes, and oceans. So, so look at your answer. See if Mrs. Aubin or I gave you, points for that. See if it fit that idea. Number 2, what is an adjective? And then your choices were a word that names a person, place, thing, or idea, a word that describes a noun or pronoun, a word that is used to replace a noun, a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Mr. Writer. B, it is a word that describes a noun. So based on that, if it says it's describing a noun or pronoun, look at the next question on the next page. It says, what is the function of the adjective clean in this sentence? So if an adjective describes, it would make sense to have, it says, what is it doing? What's its function? It describes. What is clean describing? Marin.
Not dirty.
Well, that's what it means. But what is it describing? What is clean describing? Its function is actually to describe something. Cole, what is it describing? Rainwater. So this was really the answer we were looking for, that it was describing rainwater. However, I know a lot of you told us what clean means. And we gave you credit for that, but technically the function, the job of an adjective is to describe and tell what kind of rainwater, clean rainwater. But a lot of you said not dirty, fresh, those kind of things. We gave you credit for that. So part A, what is an adverb? underline the best answer. A word that names a person, place, or thing, or idea. A word that describes a noun or pronoun. A word that's used to replace a noun. A word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Let's use our select response strategies. Are any of those ones I can completely cross out immediately because you know for sure it is not the answer? Lila Maris.
You can definitely cross out a word that names a person, place, thing, or idea.
Why? Because what is a person, place, or thing, or idea?
It's a noun.
A noun. And we talked about nouns over and over again. So we could probably cross that one out. Could we also cross out the one that we already used?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense? Over here, we just said that an adjective describes a noun or a pronoun. So is an adverb going to describe a noun or pronoun? No, because we already said that was an adjective. So now we're down to 2. So that's a strategy you're going to want to use on MAP and on CMAS and all those. Think about which ones you know are not the answers. And that leaves you then the ones that are possible. All right. So which one out of those 2 is our best option? What do you think, Miss Sally? D. It is a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Did you see that trick that it gave us? An adverb describes another adverb. It actually gave you a tiny little clue in there that this was the answer. And remember that an adverb can describe it. It can say I jumped quickly. I can jump really. I jumped high. I can any of those words that say how did I jump, but I could also add the word really to that. I jumped really high, and really is actually describing high, not and high is describing jumped. So it can also be describing another adverb. All right, or I can say I'm really tired today. Tired is an adjective. How tired? Really tired. So really is that adverb. All right, so then it asks, what is the function of that adverb? Well, if you go back to your definition, it should be describing something, shouldn't it? Technically, we should have the word describe in here again. But I know some of us didn't quite have it. So what is it describing? What word is it in that sentence is it describing? Let's read it. That oil and gas eventually washes into the water during the rainstorms and when people clean their driveways off with water. What is it describing, Elena?
Eventually means it may not happen now, but it may happen later.
Yes. So that is your definition of what eventually actually means. You're right. And we gave you credit for that. So Elena said it means it may not be happening now, but it may happen later. It's going to happen at some point, right? And some of you gave some great definitions about that. But technically, your answer should say that the word describes, what is it describing? Eventually, what? What's happening eventually?
It will happen.
What will happen? But what's the word eventually describing? Which word is that eventually describing? It's describing when, Miss Abby, I'd love for you to tell me what your answer to this question was, because it was absolutely perfect. So eventually describes washes. It's saying when this washing will happen. When it says the oil and gas eventually washes. When does it wash? Eventually. So eventually is describing the word washes. Now, hopefully you put actual sentences and not just those couple words I put. But a lot of you also told us what eventually means, and we took that as well. All right, here we go. What is the main idea of the passage? So many of you got this right, which made me happy. Which one is the main idea of the water pollution? People should stop polluting water by not dumping things into it and by not polluting the air. We use the same water over and over again because of the water cycle. Water is being polluted by people dumping things into it and by acid rain falling into clean water. water pollution is destroying aquifers. Now, at least 3 of those are kind of close, right? There are 3 of them that have the word pollution. Okay, so which one can we probably eliminate as not an option? Which one do you think not an option, Abby? So, okay, well, we can, well, A is, you're right, A is not the correct answer, but I was thinking because we were talking about pollution and we know it's about water pollution, B is an obvious one we could cross out, right? Because we know that one has nothing to do with pollution and the whole thing is called water pollution, right? So that's got to be a chance that pollution is going to be in the main idea. All right. So now we have 3 choices. Now it's the main idea of the passage, what the whole thing is talking about, not just part of it. So which one do we think is the correct answer? Which one do we think? Sunny? C. It is C. Now A and C were somewhat similar. I could cross out D because it didn't just talk about aquifers, although it does talk about aquifers. It's not the whole idea. So then we have 2 here. So it does have to do with the people not dumping things into the water, but acid rain was also a huge part of it. So that was our answer right there, was C. All right, so the next part asked us which details, and it said 3. Which 3 details? So how many things should you have circled or underlined? 3. So that is one of those things you have to really focus on that map and that CMAS testing stuff. When they ask you to pick 2, you need to pick 2. If it asks you for 3, pick 3. If it says the best one, then you need just 1. All right. So in this case, 3 details from the best support the main idea. People are polluting our water. For millions of years, the water we have has been used again and again. Businesses and cities dump chemicals and waste products into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. The acid rain caused when pollution in the air mixes with rain, falls, and poisons water on the surface of the earth. We call the water in the aquifer groundwater. We cannot create new water. Now, remember that this question is going back to our main idea. All right, so our answers have to go with C. Our answers have to go with this one right here. All right. So there are definitely details that go with these other 3, but we have to pick the 3 that go with the main idea. All right. Which ones support the main idea? All right. So I'm just going to go through them so we don't spend all of our time on it. A, are people polluting the water? Yes. Okay, for millions of years, the water we've been using it again and again. Is that our main idea? No. Businesses and cities are dumping chemicals and waste into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. Yes, because that's how things are getting polluted, right? And D, the acid rain caused when pollution in the air mixes with rain, falls and poisons the water and the surface on the earth. Yes, that's how things are getting poisoned. Now, they do talk about the groundwater. They do talk about that we can't create new water, but are those supporting the main idea? No. So those are our 3, 1, 2, 3. So you probably got, if you didn't get all 3, you got some of the points if you got some of the answers correct. All right, this part here asked for 2 similarities. They also asked for 2 differences. So a lot of you said they both have to do with pollution. There you go. They both had to do with pollution. That gives you a point. They both talk about that we need to stop it. Okay. They both talk about ways that pollution happens. Any of those kind of ideas go along. And I like, I had one person say both of them have pollution in the word pollution in the title. That's a similarity, right? That works. Okay. So differences was a lot harder. A lot of you had trouble coming up with differences. And so in that section, you might have had, one talks more about how acid rain affects aquifers, because this one on the paper did, the other one didn't. You could also say they both talked about acid rain here, but then here talk about how they talked about it differently. Or how one part in the book talked about how much garbage we're dumping. but this one did not. Okay, so you needed to have two clear ideas for both of those. All right, last one, my friends. Hang in there with me. One more. What question is answered by water pollution, this article, that is not answered in one well? So what you had to find is you had to find which one of these is talking about something that wasn't in the book at all. All right. And so did they both talk about where the pollution was coming from? Yeah. So that could be your answer. How many millions of tons of garbage are dumped into the Earth's water? Was that in this article? No, it was in the book though, wasn't it? And this says which one is answered by this article. So it can't be B. And then the other one says, how do wetlands help pollution? That one was in the book, but it wasn't in the article. So that one was not a choice. Your answer would have been then, what is an aquifer? Because this one talks a lot about an aquifer and what happens right here. We call them aquifers. Rainwater drains through the soil into the aquifers. We call the water in the aquifer groundwater. This had a lot of information about aquifer, and that's what they were asking. Several times in both CMAS and on MAP questions, they will ask you what is similar and what is different about two different articles. We'll do some practicing with that, but you really want to read it carefully, because I know why some of you picked some of those other answers, because they were in one, but not in both. But it's really important that you look at which one it's in, that it was, because there were two separate texts. All right, my friends, thank you so much for that. We're going to put that to the side. I just wanted you to see how we came up with those answers, so you can use some of those strategies again tomorrow. Tomorrow we have another source, another text. We're going to read through it. And then we will then have opportunity to answer some questions about main idea, about point of view, and so forth. All right, here we go. Yesterday, I left you with a question in your brain about what your opinion was. And I actually included it in my survey today, my graph today, for my kiddos so they can start thinking about it. But I want each of you to think about it. Our authors had a point of view. They decided that access to water is a problem, but that each person, one person, can help solve it. Individuals can help solve it. And I asked you to think about whether or not you thought that was something you also thought about or agree with, or if you think one person can make a difference. Okay, that's what I asked you to think about. So now on page 62, I'm going to wait for my friends at home to be able to find it. Page 62. We wrote down what the author's point of view is, but now I want you to, so let's look at the question. How is their point of view, the authors, about accessing water the same or different from your own? All right, so pencil to paper, friends. Yes, you could, that would be great. Pencil to paper, friends. So on page 62, you're answering that question. Is it the same? Is it different? And explain what is the same or what is different. Do you agree with them? Do you agree that one person can make a difference? Okay, so then write that. I see some heads nodding. Okay, great. Do you disagree that one person can make a difference? Oh, but just one person can do that. So if so, then you're going to say, my opinion here. Start out. My point of view is, are you going to say different or same? It's up to you. It's your point of view. It might be the same, but it also might be different, because do we live in Africa? Do we have a problem with access to water? No. So does it make sense that you might have a different idea? Yes, but we've also learned a lot So we might have a similar idea. You have to write this rest of the sentence on your own. All right. I'm giving you a start. Oh, you guys can't even see that because it's light blue. Sorry. My point of view. We want to make a complete sentence, right? My point of view is, and then this is where you're going to put different or the same as the authors. Because, and then tell me why. There is not a correct answer a wrong or right answer as long as you back up your answer.
It's just like we did in all block when we said whether we agreed with the wolf or the pig's point of view. We explained why. We did it with more recess or aren't we too smart. This is the same thing.
Same idea. Same idea. So my point of view is you're going to choose one, the same or is different from the authors as the authors. Because, and then tell why. Why is it the same? Why is it different? Yes, Noah. Do you agree? Here, let's look at what they believe. They believe that access to water is a problem some places around the world, but individuals can help solve it. That's what they believe. Do you believe the same or do you believe differently? Like I said, no right or wrong answer, right? Just you have to explain why is it the same or why is it different. It's Abby, page 62, my friend. Do you need to use all the lines? You do not. However, when you see something in the future where it gives you a lot of lines, is that a hint about how much they expect you to back up your answer? Yeah. Yes. So obviously, we don't have time to write everything down, but okay. So while you're thinking about that, you don't have to have this exact sentence. This was just a sentence starter to start. Mr. Fenn, have you gotten your whole answer down? And your why? The because part? Did you put because? All right. You need to continue this sentence, right? Mrs. Harrison can't continue it for you. You need to continue that sentence. And you don't even need those exact words. That's just a sentence starter. But I'm going to take this away for a minute because I want you to think about point of view. Arrgh. All right. Am I in the right one, first of all? Yes. All right. So, sometimes we think differently because we aren't coming from the same place, right? We don't live in Africa. We don't have the same problem to access. When we go to the restroom, when we go into the restroom, we expect to turn on the water to wash our hands, right? We know that that's going to happen. We're used to that. So we might have a different point of view. We might, for sure, because we don't have the same experience as he has. Now you might have the same, but you could say, I don't have a problem with accessing water, but I see that everyone needs to help. You could add that as a sentence in. You could say how your experience is different. Think about what your experience is with water. Have you ever had a time when you couldn't get water? So think about that. Does that make you similar to William then? If you've had that experience of not having water and knowing how much that is. However, have we ever been through a drought so bad that we could only eat one meal a day? Probably not most of us. So is that a slightly different point of view then? We could say, yes, everybody can do something. But if we don't, is it really going to change our lives? Eventually, we think so, maybe, right? Because we talked about how many people in the future might not have clean water. But think about if we don't change our lifestyle immediately, is it going to maybe affect our being able to go to the sink and get water? Maybe eventually, but right tomorrow? Probably not. So does that give you an idea of how you could have a viewpoint that's different, but still believe in the same things that somebody else believes in? We have to take it to heart a little bit more. So in this text, the author's point of view about accessing water is that everyone should have access to water, and that the problem of this accessing water can be solved with hard work and perseverance, right? We know that that's true because we saw it in William. The author made a big point of showing how he persevered, how he kept going. Do you believe that too? Is that similar or different to what you believe? Okay. How are we feeling about this? All right. Somebody willing to tell me what they wrote about what their point of view is? Lennox. All right. Lennox said he agrees with the authors, but he also thinks that it would be better if there were more people than just one. Okay. Mr. Ben, tell me what you wrote.
I wrote
Ooh, sorry. Hold on 1 second, Ben. Mrs. Harrison did that stupid thing she does all the time. Is she forgot to turn on her sound. Hold that thought. Okay, try again, Ben.
my point of view is different because I have water in my house and they had to walk 15 miles.
All right. So did you guys hear that? So Ben said his viewpoint is different because he has water all the time and they have to work really hard to get theirs, right? Good job, Ben. Mr. Logan, what did you write?
My point of view is the same as the authors because I think one person can make a difference. Also, we don't have a problem with water, but I can see how hard it is for people in Africa to get water.
That was awesome, Logan. Good job. He said his viewpoint is the same because he believes that everybody should access water and that everybody should help. But he also, even though his point in life where he doesn't have that struggle, he can see how important it is for other people. Very nice job, Logan. I didn't paraphrase that nearly as well as you did. Abby, what did you say?
My point of view is different because I usually have like my the door keeps getting open at my dad's house and the pipe freeze, so we never have much water there.
Okay, so that's different from what Williams and the author have? Okay, I was going to say you have a similar viewpoint because you've had to deal with not having water because the pipes froze. Different reason for not having water, but similar understanding. Awesome. Paxton.
My point of view is different because it can help if more
Yeah, you're okay.
but most Americans have water faucets that can turn on and then off.
Love it. So he said, excellent job, Paxton. He said that his viewpoint is different because most Americans have no problem getting their water, and so that we don't see it quite the same way they do. Excellent. I love the way you said that. Paraphrase, I never paraphrase well. I'm sorry. It's not one of my good skills. Ellie.
My point of view is the same as the office because a kid has to village with a windmill.
Okay, so you're backing up their point of view. Okay, could you also add what your thinking is and what you could do, maybe what you could do to help? That one person can do something, and then you could explain what that one thing maybe is from your side to back it up. Lucas, what are you thinking?
My point of view is the same because some countries don't have water. People help they will have water.
All right, nice job, Mr. Lucas. Lucas said that that around the world people don't all have access to water, but if everybody works together, we can help solve that problem. Very nice. Thank you guys. Thank you for so many hands up. I'm gonna have to move on, but okay. So we're gonna do this a little bit later today. We're gonna talk about another point of view in a minute. All right. So I want you. So those of you who are getting warmed up for this, you're gonna do it again today, and then it's gonna be tomorrow on the assessment. We're gonna do another one. So I'm glad we've warmed up to this. All right, so we're going to do another text. So go ahead and open up your workbook it is called Real Lives Angola, Africa. Looks like this. It's your page 63. So you guys were just on page 62. So it shouldn't be hard to find, right? Shouldn't be hard to find. So we're going to I'm going to actually, we're going to read through this together. But I'm going to ask you to actually do some work independently and answer some questions independently, all by yourself, that means. So not in partners, not with us as a group. So because we can't always do it as a group, right? We said we had to do some of this independently. So I'm going to read page 63. You are going to be a close reader, right? So get out those close reading eyes, right? And you're going to be looking at the gist of this article. And so I'm not going to read it all at once. I'm going to read just a little bit, and then you're going to have a chance to write down what you think the gist is in your workbook, but all by yourselves, all right? And so I'm going to go little bit by little bit so we don't forget. But you have to be a really close reader. Eyeballs need to be on the text, right? All right, here we go. So again, the name of it's Real Lives Angola, Africa. And if you look all the way at the bottom, you'll see where they got this information, their source. This is the name of an article. It was used by permission from UNICEF USA in 2011. So EL is getting credit again to its source, telling us where this information came from. It's not something EL made up. It's something that in 2011 was really written by UNICEF. Okay. All right. So eyeballs on the first two paragraphs. Here we go. Growing up in the Angolan village of Mabuya, 1 hour north of the capital Luanda, Fatima had to spend up to 4 hours each day collecting water from the river. It was a dangerous trek. One year, 7 of Fatima's friends were attacked by crocodiles. But the girls carried a much bigger danger back with them to the village. The water was polluted and spread disease. As a result, when Fatima herself was not sick, she had to spend many hours each week caring for sick brothers and sisters, and when she grew older, for her own sick children. Okay, turn to page 64. You might have to do some flipping back and forth, my friends. All right, here you go. What is this mostly about? You need a sentence, right? Nope, I don't know hands, just writing. Everybody's writing. We're not doing it together. This is your job. 64. It's that page right on, yep, right there. Think about what we just read. You can go back and flip back to the section. I know it's a little hard because it's on the back. Give me one sentence. What do you think it's mostly about? And then I want you to see if you can come up with one vocabulary word from those two sentences that you think somebody might want to know. An unfamiliar vocabulary word like we usually look for. But the gist is more important. All right. Everybody's writing the gist for me. Oh, go back to that's what I wanted. All right. Everybody needs a sentence. I'm going to walk around.
I'll do this side.
Awesome. love how I see a couple people rereading. Good job. Go back to the text, right? Go back and reread if you're not sure. I like those who are going back to reread. Then you're looking for one unfamiliar word. Well, then you should write it down. We'll talk about that. You try. Try it. So think about it was a dangerous. You hit that. All right. Sorry, this is all running out. Sorry.
They look good.
Yeah, you guys are doing great. All right. Just a curiosity, how many people use the word Angola in their gist? That's okay. So if just an idea that you might want to add, if you think about what these two paragraphs are they about just any place? They're about, and especially with our title, it might be helpful if you would start, if somewhere in that that sentence you might have wanted to include the word Angola. So you didn't have to, not necessarily. All right. Who would like to share some of their ideas? Mr. Gavin, can you tell me what you wrote, please, in that section?
I think it's about that there was a girl that bring dirty water. That had to bring dirty water.
Has to bring dirty water back to her family. Okay, I like the dirty water part. The girl, very good. Josh Carter, what did you add?
I put that he brought water that had a leak, and then her family was getting sick.
Then she had to take care of her family, right? The water caused her family to get sick. Okay. So some people have to travel to get water, and then even though they've gotten that water, it still makes their family sick. We kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, about that one well idea. Sawyer, what else did you have?
I think it's about the water spreading. It's spreading a disease, and people are getting sick.
The water spreading disease, people getting sick. Okay, Astria?
People in Angola have to get water, but the water is polluted, and they have to take care of family when they.
Oh my goodness, that was great, Miss Astria. I wish you were closer so I didn't have to paraphrase that. Can you read that one more time? Nice and here, come here. That was awesome. I'm gonna be your here. Now read.
People in Angola have to get water, but the water is polluted, and they had to take care of their family when they were sick.
Excellent. See, you guys don't need me. You guys got this. That was excellent. All right, we're gonna move on because we have more things to do. Did anybody pick some unfamiliar vocabulary? I know that Elena had a word. I want to see if anybody else found that word. Isabella? Trek. That is a really good one. Did anybody figure out what a trek might mean? What do you think, Elena?
I think it meant like a dangerous place they have to go to get the water.
Okay, it's not a dangerous place. Trek isn't a place. It is a noun, but it's actually, what do you think, August?
I think it's a trail.
It's a trail, okay. You're on the right track, Logan.
I don't know what it means, but can I share my answer?
Yes, what word did you add? System. Okay, good one. Excellent word, Nixon.
Wait, like, can I do it?
You can tell me what trek means, yeah.
I said
Yes. It's a slow and it's a difficult, it definitely could be dangerous, but it's a difficult or slow way to travel. So when it said it was a dangerous trek. It was a dangerous trek. 1 year, 7 of her friends were attacked. So that's where you got the idea of dangerous, right? Yeah, definitely. Abby.
So it's kind of dangerous trail with vicious animals.
Okay. So a trek can be, so a trek doesn't have to have animals necessarily, but it's something that is definitely difficult. So it could be, a trek could be trying to get to the top of a mountain, right? Like, and have to climb all the way, have to really work to get to the top. It could be. All right.
Like writing it down and imagining.
Excellent. All right. So I'm sorry, but we have to go on. All right. I'm going to read the next two. Next two. So everybody turn back to page 63. We're going to read the next two paragraphs. And then I'm going to ask some of my friends at home to share their ideas. All right. Here, are we ready? So why is it important that your eyes read the words while I'm reading them? Why would that be super important instead of just listening to what I'm saying? Why is that important, Lila?
Because if our eyes are reading with you, then if like we like if we are listening, then we might not hear every word, and when we're looking, we can see it and understand it.
Okay, so it's also helping us become better readers, right? By looking, so some of these words, Angola, you may have never seen that word before. Some of those other words that were like the name of the village. I don't really know if I'm even pronouncing it correctly, but if you were just struggling and reading it on your own, I mean, by seeing it and hearing it, it's helping us figure out how to say those words, right? And if you were going to go back to the text, like I saw so many of you do, which is so amazing. I love when you go back to the text, right? But if you've already read it with your eyes, is it easier to find what you're looking for? If you've seen it before and know where you can find it, then just going, oh, I have to reread the whole thing again because I have no idea where it is. So keep it, look on it with your eyes, okay? Here we go. So we had first paragraph, second paragraph. We are now on paragraph 3. In 2000, the Angolan government and UNICEF teamed up to lay a pipeline from a river to the community at Mabaya. Latrines, wash basins, taps, and showers were then built together with a filtering system to ensure every drop of water was drinkable. As a result, diarrhea rates dropped almost to zero. Child deaths plummeted, and many girls who no longer had to spend hours every day carrying water entered school for the first time. A community water and sanitation committee now maintains the system and teaches hygiene to the rest of the community. A neighbor of Fatima's 13-year-old Selena is one of those who has started going to school because of the pipeline. Previously, Selena's life had been dominated by collecting water. She had to walk to the river and back 3 times a day. Now she can do her chores in a fraction of the time. And her younger brothers and sisters are healthy, so she does not have to care for them. Okay, bottom page 64. What is the gist of those 2 paragraphs? This is your job. What are those 2 paragraphs mostly about in one nice, neat sentence?
You guys are pros now.
You guys are the experts. I know you can do it. My friends at home, you should be writing. I should see frantic writing. All right, looks like Haley's working hard. Leo looks like he's working hard. All right, go back to the text. Excellent.
They get it, Mrs. Harrison.
Yay!
They're looking like 4th graders.
I know, definitely good 4th grade kind of tasks here. We're getting you ready. Getting you ready. for fourth grade. They're going to be they're going to expect you to be able to do this all on your own. And Mrs. Harrison can't follow you there.
Darn, she wish she could.
All right, you're also trying, once you've gotten your sentence, you're looking for some unfamiliar vocabulary, and there were lots in those 2 paragraphs. You don't have to put all of them, but you can definitely look and find a word that might be hard and you think might be an unfamiliar word. Pretty sure it's 1, but let me double check. Yeah, it's in the other back. Yeah, no. Names are tricky. And I know I've made that mistake myself.
Yeah.
Okay, writing down at least one unfamiliar word for me and what you think it means using your close reader abilities. Yeah. Let me see. Let me just test you. How many people put the word pipeline in their sentence? Pipeline, somewhere in their sentence. Pipeline. Just wondering, because that's kind of an important word in those 2 paragraphs. Because they built, you might have used another word for pipeline, perhaps.
I did use pipeline.
Did you? Good job. All right. Okay. Finishing up that bit for me. That it only should be about 1 sentence, right? So 1 clear idea. All right, Moran, what do you think?
Since Africa got water lines, girls don't have to carry buckets filled with water.
Okay, and so I love your sentence, Moran. I'm going to try to repeat that in some fashion. So when we were thinking about, so is it Africa or is it someplace in particular? Inside Africa? Do you remember where that other, it is Africa, but is it all of Africa that got the pipeline? No, so you might want to narrow that down. But Marin's idea she said since Africa got the pipeline, the village. Say it again, Marin. I'm sorry, I talked and then I forgot.
Since Africa got water lines, girls don't have to carry buckets filled with water.
Perfect. She said since Africa got water lines, the girls no longer have to carry all of those buckets of water. And it also gives them lots more time, doesn't it? Excellent job, Ms. Brown. Do you see why I maybe want you to change the word Africa though? Serne, give me your sentence. Girls no longer have to get the water anymore, but why? Kind of important why. Could you add a little bit about why? Because now the water comes to them, right, in the pipelines? Okay. All right, Jensen, share your sentence, please.
Wait, what?
Can you share your gist for me? Your sentence that you put right here?
Sorry, I was gone.
Okay.
For you were reading.
Okay. Well, so we read paragraph 3 and 4, and we're writing the gist. So you're going to want to catch up on that for me. All right. Great. Mr. Leo, can you tell me what you wrote in that spot for me?
I wrote pipelines were built so girls don't have to get water, and girls entered school.
Yay, I like how you got the school in there. Good job. You got the word pipeline. The girls don't have to get the water and they can go to school. How many of you put school somewhere in your sentence? Good, because a lot of that had to do or not take care of their families, give them more time to do what they want. You guys are doing great. Okay, 2 more paragraphs. Here we go. Oh, actually, wait. What were some of the unfamiliar words you put first? There were a lot of things you might have put in this spot. By the way, so Mr. Charlie, directly, what words, unfamiliar vocabulary did you put in there?
Latrines.
Good one. That's definitely a word that not everybody's gonna know. A latrine.
It means toilet.
It does, very good. It is a toilet. So latrine is just a fancy word for toilet. Nice job, Charlie. What's another one you might, Haley? Pipeline. You could have pipeline. Do you know what a pipeline is? What did you figure it out what it was? No? Can somebody help them out with what a pipeline might mean? Ryder? Got your dictionary, all right.
A tube, a cylinder used to contain liquid, a device with a bowl at the end of a straw used to smoke tobacco. 3, a musical instrument through which air is blown to make a high pitch sound.
Okay, did all of those make sense in this case though? No, but the tube to carry water, that one would work. It is a tube to carry, so they made a pipeline, so it's pipe, think of a pipe, bunch of pipes put together, pipeline carrying the water. Excellent, Nixon, did you have another word? Dominated, ooh. What do you think that means? It's dominated means to take over something. So if you dominated their life, it took over their life. Or if you were playing a game with me and you dominated, then you were the one that was winning. You were taking over the game. Okay, so good word. Another one. Paxton. Oh, so UNICEF, so UNICEF is, we wouldn't necessarily, it's an unfamiliar word for sure. It is actually, it stands for a particular group that is trying to help others, and they do it in a variety of ways. We'll learn a little bit more about UNICEF as time goes on. Yes, Miss Ellie, another word? Can I make it bigger? Yeah, I can. Thanks for asking. Did you have another word? No? Lennox, did you have another word? Install. Sure. Do you know what it means? What does it mean? Yeah. So if I install a light bulb, right? I put some, I'm fixing it, right? All right, you guys are doing so great. Here we go. Last 2 paragraphs. You guys are rocking it. Here we go. Unfortunately, Mambuya remains the exception rather than the rule in Angola. Almost 3 decades of war have left millions of people without clean water or basic sanitation. A huge task remains: drilling boreholes across the country, constructing major pipelines, establishing a national sanitation education campaign, and providing water to schools. Fatima may be one of the lucky ones, but the facilities she, her children, and Selena now have are not a luxury, but a necessity and a right. A mother must take care of her children, Fatima says, but we cannot do that when we only have dirty water. Okay, page 65. Page 65, you got this. One more gist, you got it. Uh-oh, I hear groaning. You guys got this. No groaning. First, yeah, no, gotta do it. Here we go. Just gotta lose that before you get to 4th grade. All right, one more sentence.
I have to go.
Okay, Miss Haley, thank you. Yep. All right, good luck on your test, sweetie.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, yes. Oh, are you asking a question or? Okay.
Did I leave yet? Oh,
Lot
boo.
So just put, try to get at least one of them down. Go back to the text. If you want to go back and look, there are a lot of, so this article is a real article, right? It's not necessarily meant for just third graders. So there are lots of hard words in there because it's intended really for adults, right? So just do your best, Miss Elena. I know there are some hard words in there, but I bet your close reading skills can figure them out. All right, I'm gonna walk around and see those sentences. Reread if you need to. Right, come back to the test. You do that when you take that math test and that math test. You do that consistently about going back to the text and finding your answers, you will be successful. A lot of people go back to the text. I see it in there. I know it isn't a lovely machine. You were a little worried you guys would struggle with this, but you are not. All right. Guys are rocking it. All right. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna let whichever you did, I'm gonna believe that you have awesome answers on your own. We're not gonna actually go over these ones. However, I would like to say, thinking about what it is, does most of Angola have this situation? No. Angola, this part of this town in Angola does not, it is the exception rather than the rule. So most of Angola still does not have those pipelines. And that clean water should be a right. And not everybody yet has that, do they? All right. Did you find lots of hard words in there? Yes, you might have a lot of hard words in there, but like you guys can do, you guys can look up those words, you can think up those words and read around them, use the affix and so forth. Okay, guys are awesome. I'm gonna leave it there though, because I want to do one more thing before we go. So if you head to page 69, we're skipping a bunch of pages and I'm totally okay with that. You guys are rocking it. All right. So let's read the last paragraph one time. One more time. Fatima may be one of the lucky ones, but the facilities she, her children, and Selena now have are not a luxury, but a necessity and a right. A mother must take care of her children, Fatima says, but we cannot do that when we have only dirty water. So based on that and all the rest that you read, what do you think is the author's point of view about accessing water? What do you think why would the author write this? What would the author want us to be looking at and reading and feeling? What is the point of this lyric? Is not having that, they don't have, okay, and is that affecting their whole life? It's affecting their schooling. It's affecting their health. It's affecting everything, right? So is clean water important? Should everybody have it? Is it a right? So that's what our author is trying to tell us. Clean water is a right. Everybody should have access to it. Okay. Now, what do you think I'm going to ask you to put here? We started with their viewpoint. What's next? All right, go for it. Do you believe that same thing? Is your viewpoint the same? I'm going to skip back to here's our viewpoint. Think about what's the purpose of the text. Think about what the author is trying to get us to understand. How does your life, your beliefs, do you believe in the same thing? Do you see it the same way? Do you think that other people should feel that same thing? Use your own words, Elena. But yes, you could start out that way if you'd like. Yeah, that way. Oh, but yes, I already called them. On chat. Okay. Gotcha. I know that's the one. Yeah, gotcha. You know what I mean? All right. I just yes. No, that's perfect. Felt bad. No, thank you. Got it. What are you thinking, Ben? What are you thinking? Do you agree or disagree with our ideas, do you think?
Sorry, what?
Do you agree with the authors or do you disagree? Do you have
I agree.
You agree? Okay, you think everybody should have clean water?
Yep.
All right.
Dirty water makes sick.
Right, because is it fair that other people get sick? No? No. All right, could you write that down? That it's not fair or it's not right for people to get sick? Or is it fair for girls to not get school because they have to go get water? How do you feel about that? I know. They better have a good argument. Yeah, right. If you disagree, I guess, yeah, Mrs. Aubin said if you disagree, you have to have a pretty good reason, right? Yeah. If you don't think it's fair, if you think it's fair that some people don't, then it might be a little bit different, right? All right. Okay, so tomorrow, you guys are doing so great so I think tomorrow you're going to be successful. So tomorrow we're going to have a new text. We're going to read it together. And then you are going to be asked some questions because that's always how it works, right? And then you're going to have to write about your viewpoints compared to the authors. I think they are doing great. You guys are doing so great. All right, my friends, thank you so much. You did a great job. Make sure you have an answer to the bottom of page 69 so that you're ready for tomorrow. Make sure you say whether you have a good viewpoint, your viewpoint, Chris. And I will see you guys later today. And
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
We can leave the meeting.
Bye.